Hey, how's it going guys? I'm Prince from PrinceTV Reacts and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be checking out the latest video from the Odd Ones Out, which is called Talking to Strangers. So, okay, let's go ahead and watch it. Okay, let's play.
Let's pretend you get on a bus and it's super crowded. The only spot that's open is between two strangers. So you sit down between two people you never met and everyone is fine. Everyone's keeping to themselves, no one's making eye contact, it's perfect. Sure, your shoulders are touching, but that's just what happens. That's part of the bus going experience, you poor person. But then at the very next stop, aisle seat guy gets off. So now you and window seat guy are sitting right next to each other. But since you're in the middle, you have to be the one to decide, do you move or not? I honestly don't know what the right thing to do in that situation is. I'm conflicted. Because if you move, it would be silently telling the other person, hey, you're disgusting. I can't stand having our shoulders touch any longer, and I'm glad to finally get away from you. Ugh. But on the other hand, if I was the window seat guy, I would want the middle seat guy to become the new aisle seat guy. I wouldn't see moving as rude. I would just want his gross, disgusting body as far away from me as possible.
I mean, I don't think anyone would find that rude. I mean, you would have to sit close to him, like touching your shoulders, because there was no other seat available. But as soon as the seat is available, you should just make some distance between you two before someone else comes. But
that's not rude. But on the other hand, maybe I'm overthinking everything, and most people don't even mind being this close to another human, and they aren't struggling socially. I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think anyone enjoys being that close to strangers. So people only do that because they have to on public transportation. But yeah.
Now imagine that same situation, but with urinals. If you're in the middle urinal, do you move halfway through to the other urinal? Because I would. Are you supposed?
No, I don't think so. Because you can't just move when you're peeing.
Supposed to talk to people when you're sitting 2 inches away from them? I always felt like I should say something, like, hey, did you see the game last night? I didn't, I was too busy drawing cartoons. But I realized that this is a two-way street. I'm worried about not talking to someone, but they're not talking to me either. We both agreed that there's this unwritten contract between us that we're not even going to look at each other. It got me thinking about strangers and specifically how I treat them. And how I can make money off of them. Hey-oh! I'm just kidding. That was a joke. For most of my life, I would go out of my way to avoid talking to people. I would
even his mom?
Stay in my lane, mind my own business, no eye contact. If everyone's using a urinal, I'd have to pee tomorrow. Yes, I'm lonely. But now that YouTube's the thing, I'm interacting with strangers more often than I've had to in my entire life. So I've been thinking a lot about strangers. And first of all, I think the word stranger is already an insulting label for someone just because you don't know their name. Oh, I don't know this person? They're a stranger. They're strange. I'm the normal one. They're the freaks. They probably murder people with an axe. It's always the go-to profession of a stranger, an axe murderer. But the people you see throughout your day are all humans with their own hopes and dreams, and some of them may hope to kill you, but you'll never know because you didn't ever take the time to get to know them. So I think that the people you see throughout your daily life aren't strangers. They're potential friends. Except for the weird ones, obviously. Stay away from them.
Exactly.
And yes,
and there are so many weird ones. When you open up and actually introduce yourself, only then you can find out who's weird and who's actually worthy, normal.
I'm telling you to judge people based on their appearance. They're the ones that chose to wear anime shirts in public, okay? So back to the bus scenario. I'm sitting right next to this fellow human being. So far, there's not a single reason why I should dislike this person, but I don't know why, if you put him and me on a bus next to each other, I want him as far away from me as possible. Just stop touching my shoulder! So that was the last time I took the bus. Unfortunately, that's not the only place you meet strangers. One time I was at Home Depot and I was looking for jumper cables and I couldn't find them anywhere. And I don't know if I'm the only human that's like this, but I will try everything in my power to not talk to a sales associate. I guess it's because I know they get paid minimum wage and their life sucks and I just want to leave them alone and not make their job any harder than it has to be. But asking employees for help isn't even bothering them that much. In fact, I think it's part of their job. Like, what's the worst thing they're gonna say? Ugh. You don't know where one specific item is? Everyone else knows. Did you even look? They're in the jumper cable aisle, idiot. No one's gonna think that. So feeling desperate, I mustered up what little courage I had and swaggered up to someone wearing an orange vest and said, excuse me, do you know where the jumper cables are? I don't work here. Oh, you don't work here? And then
So
he walked
awkward.
away. And then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. And then the very next day, bam, bam, bam. So I think the logical thing to do in that situation would have been to find someone who does work there. But I left the store because I didn't want to run into that same guy again. But I also bought a hammer because I didn't want people to think that I stole something.
What?
So,
That's so weird.
oh yeah. And by the way, if you wear an orange vest to Home Depot, just expect people to ask you for help. Same goes for people who wear red shirts at Target. You'd think I'd learn from my mistakes, but no, I have a bunch more examples. When my book
Okay.
came out, my publisher said that it was going to be carried at Barnes & Noble, and I thought that was super duper cool and wanted to see my book in the wild. Not to buy or anything, just to have a look at. So I took my friend Adam from Something Else YT, and we went to the local Barnes & Noble and started our search. We looked in the humor section, didn't find it. Then we checked the new release section, it wasn't there either. Then we looked at the best-selling section, then the religious section, but we couldn't find the book anywhere. So either the publisher lied, or they had already sold out. But just to be sure, I asked one of the workers, hey, do you guys have a book by The Odd Ones Out? He kind of looks like this. And the worker typed something out on his computer and said, oh yeah, we got those in the back, we just haven't put them out yet. So then he went to the back room, brought out a copy and handed it to me saying, here you go, kid. And I thought, well, frick.
Now
I
he
can't
has
just
to buy
hand it
that.
back to the guy and say, oh no, that's okay. I didn't want to buy it. I just wanted to have a look at it. Do you know how inconvenient that would be? So the only less awkward option I could think of was
To
to
buy it.
buy my own book. And you know what? I'd get a couple cents back from this purchase, so it wouldn't have been a total loss. But Adam, being the more sensible one, said,
Dude, this is ridiculous. You have to complain.
so then he went to the worker and said,
So he actually wrote this book. He just wanted to get a look at it, like, in the wild.
and the worker said, oh, that's so cool. Do you want to sign our copies? And then I thought, well, hold on. You're not even going to ask me for my ID? How do you know I actually wrote this book and I'm not some guy trying to deface someone else's? And then the guy gave me a whole stack of my books and I signed them all. Last story before I go. I was
That's
in the
cool,
hallway
though,
of a
right?
building and me and this potential friend crossed paths. He said, hello, and I was going to respond with, hello, and how's it going? But I combined the two and ended up saying, how? And then I jumped out a window and fell to my death.
I mean, I would do the same thing if that happened to me. Imagine someone saying, like, coming up to you and saying hello, and you reply with, how? Oh my
I can't
god.
rationalize that behavior. Maybe I spend too
Oh,
much time on the
man.
computer and I'm not used to looking at real people.
That's like the shortest, most awkward conversation I've ever heard of.
Spaces,
Wow.
but I'm trying to change. Don't get me wrong, going to conventions and meeting fans has helped me a lot with talking to people. Granted, those conversations are usually one-sided and a real stranger won't already know who I am, but they've still helped me. Now, you might be expecting me to give you advice on overcoming social anxiety, but if you watch this video, you know I'm not the most qualified to give that advice, but I'll try my best. I know it's hard to feel confident and I'm still working on it, but you have to understand that we're all people, and we all have things that we're struggling with.
That's true.
And in reality, we're not all watching or caring about every little thing that other people do. We're all too busy worrying about what other people think. So with enough practice and believing in yourself, you can show the world your true colors, and I think you'll find that people are a lot nicer than you think. So if you're the middle seat guy on the bus and you have to decide whether or not to move, do whatever you want, no one cares. Just stop touching my shoulders. Hey everyone.
Alright, that is the end of the video. It's so freaking cool, man. Like some of the parts of the videos, especially with the when he said how to the guy who said hello to him, that's the funniest part. Okay, yeah, I can actually relate to so many aspects of this video. It's always awkward to talk to strangers, but now that I am a university student, it's always like fascinating to be the one to open up and talk to the other person. Like just earlier today, one of my friend, I was with one of my friend and he recognized one of his oldest friend, like old friend from 4 or 5 years ago when he was in high school. So he went up to the girl, it's a girl, went up to the girl and introduced himself. And the girl hardly remembers him because they didn't talk much during high school, and now it's almost 4 years after that. So they just did not have anything to talk. So the girl was with someone else, like her classmate, and there I am standing with my fellow friend, and they're making small talks, chit chats. Like there's huge gaps between one line and the other because they just don't know what to say. So I'm like, what am I doing in this situation? So what I did was I started a conversation with the guy who was with the guy that the girl was with. So I'm talking to her friend as if I know him as a friend, and it's like the coolest conversation ever. I'm like talking about how his political science study is, how his professors are, where he's from, what's his plan for the future after he's graduating from political science. So it's like a whole new conversation just because I was willing to make a conversation with a stranger, and that just made the whole situation lighter. Even my friend was wondering, he's like making fun, like, oh wow, there's just so much you're talking about, what's up? I'm like, you're not the only one with a friend, I'm making new friends over here. So it's a cool thing to do, like talking up to strangers, but only when it's welcoming. But because I was in a university, everyone wants to talk to the other person, but they just don't know how. So if you're the beginner of a conversation, people always appreciate that. But if I was sitting in a bus or a public transportation of sort, I don't think I would spark off a conversation there because I just don't want to. And even if I'm in a social gathering and I don't feel like talking, I'm not gonna talk. It doesn't matter how awkward it gets. But that's it for this video. That's my part of the story, and thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're new here, don't forget the subscribe button. Let me know down in the comments what your awkward stories are involving a stranger, if you have one, down in the comment section. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.